Welcome to STARFLEET News Now. I'm Ryan O'Connor. I want to welcome you to this inaugural episode of STARFLEET News Now from the studio aboard the USS Charter Oak NCC 63545. We're based out of Connecticut in Region 15, and we're excited for this new show and bringing you much of what you've loved from previous STARFLEET productions, but also a look at different interesting topics, including interviews with superfans, plus looking into different organizations within STARFLEET, the International Star Trek Fan Association. We will end this broadcast with a conversation with the Commander Starfleet, as well as take questions live. But before we hear from the top man himself, we're going to talk with his executive officer, Ryan Case, as he shows us a new look for our amazing organization. Here's Dean Rogers with that conversation.
Hello, everyone. This is Rear Admiral Dean Rogers of the USS Mae Jemison of the 7th Fleet. And today, I have the honor of talking with Vice Admiral Ryan Case, the Vice Commander of Starfleet. Ryan, it's so nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you as well, Dean. Just so you know, since last week, it's Admiral now.
Oh, congratulations.
It is very fresh. I have to remember it myself. All my email sign-offs have been a lot of editing afterwards.
Well, I'm so glad to hear it, and congratulations on your promotion.
Thanks.
You're welcome. So I understand that the word out in the galaxy are logos. So why are we talking about the brand new logos? And can you give us more information about them?
So it's kind of a twofold side to the conversation of kind of what's going on. One, that everybody's starting to see a whole bunch of, and two, is starting to appear on a lot of the products and stuff that we're putting out. The first one that has been appearing since kind of we took office was a project that got spun up with the Corps of Engineers. And it was kind of a brainchild, not of mine exactly, as a gentleman named Gerhard Pretorius. And I've basically told him that I wanted a visual style that matched what we would expect when we walk up on Starfleet. Some very specific examples, like when you walk into a convention, and you see various fan organizations or even just organizations, period. When you see them, you know what you're looking at. And the thought that kind of came with that was, all right, well, let's do this from a top-down kind of perspective. And we got all of the EC positions, so CS, VCS, new membership services, CFO, all of them, all got new logos. And it kind of followed with a little visual representation with a gold outline and the gold wreath that goes around it with a gold text. From there, it works kind of that way down, where the auxiliaries, they have gold with silver. Chapters that are wanting to work with us, and I'll come back to that momentarily, but chapters that want to work with us, theirs is silver on red. That is starting to kind of bleed out into Starfleet because a lot of people really like the visual look that's gone out for this project. Personally, I fell in love with it the moment it hit my screen. I was like, oh my God, I love this. I'm having some pushback, and as I said, I'd come back to it. There's a lot of chapters that their logos have existed since the late 80s, early 90s. They don't want to change them, and that is frankly completely fine. This is more of a, like I said, a top-down sort of effort. So ECs, all of our various actual Starfleet groups and auxiliaries, shows, that kind of stuff, you're going to see them pop up. You're going to follow a very rigorous kind of design. Like I mentioned, we are making them 4 chapters. My chapter, the plan currently is to have our official one that we've used since we were created, and we'll have one that we show for like Starfleet on our own, on the website for Starfleet and things like that. So a bunch of our personal gear and stuff will have all of that, present, but most of our appearances and things and our social media will have the original logo that was created by one of our founding members. So it holds a special place, and I completely understand kind of the pushback on that. Now, when I said the other side of it, the thing that's slowly bleeding out is the overall Starfleet logo. And if you see it, it's starting to appear. It's appeared on our awards that were given out during VIC, the physical awards that got made, the flags, the 50th anniversary coin that we've put out. But it is not completely redesigned. It's not a redo of the wheel. David, the commander of Starfleet, and I had a conversation, and it actually spawned from our time on the Admiralty board together. And when Stephen Parmley was the CS. He made a position, and it wasn't official yet, but he put he's now the region coordinator for Region 12, Mike Calhoun, in charge of heraldry, making sure that we aren't breaking any copyright or trademark rules and stuff. Just trying to be very careful with what we do, so that we keep ourselves looking official and in compliance, while at the same time not upsetting people who rightfully would be very disturbed or upset if we broke those rules. This kind of came on the back end of a lot of people cutting out the Delta designs, and very specifically this design that I'm wearing. It's these little pieces on the side of the Deltas that tended to blip on that radar. That being said, a bunch of Star Trek style designs got removed from a lot of our logos, and just out of just pure, we don't know if this is okay, so we're just going to remove it. We took office, had a conversation with Mike Calhoun, who is still our heraldry office, and said, would this be possible? Does this break any rules? And he said, no, that's completely okay. So, as you see it, basically all that got done was the Starfield and the Laurels that are on the outside got expanded ever so slightly outward. Starfleet expands to the entirety, left to right on it, and a Delta from Star Trek now appears on our insignia, essentially. And it's keeps some of the old, so it's visually recognizable. It's still Starfleet, but it also adds a piece that, if you know what you're looking at, you immediately recognize it as Star Trek. And obviously the TISTA language, the International Starfleet or Star Trek Fan Association Incorporated, all that goes across the bottom, which kind of tells you if you're reading, but it's much smaller than the overall logo itself. So that was kind of the idea behind it, and all of our products going forward are going to use that. I've had a lot of comments to us that are very, very excited to see Star Trek starting to reappear on Starfleet items. And I would not, it's not something that I initially thought of. That portion of it was a brainchild from David, and I'm very glad that he pushed for it because it looks incredible.
Well, I'm definitely so glad to hear it. And I actually got a chance to look at some of the graphics on the Starfleet website, and they look so amazing. To piggyback on what you just said just moments ago, will members be able to access some of these new graphics for their promotional newsletters and flyers at conventions and other places?
Very, very soon. I'm not going to give an exact date yet because there's a document that's coming out alongside all of them that I'm personally working on. But long story short, yes, there's going to be a digital archive that everyone will have a reference to. It'll be in the members hub on the Starfleet website, along with any projects you do with the Corps of Engineers. They'll be readily available so that you can reference or look at them. But alongside it is a guide that I'm writing. We're calling it the Visual Standards Manual.
That's pretty good progress. Now, do chapters have to stop using the current Starfleet logos that they already have printed because of out, or no?
In the immediacy, not at all. Keep using what you have. There will come a time, and I can't say with any authority when that time might be. It will not be during our administration. I can't imagine it would. We're not going to make anything with the old logo, so you're now going to have a historical type thing. It is still visually representative of our organization. It's very visually similar, so like it's not a big deal, but there will come a time where we basically just make the statement of this no longer represents the brand. Speaking candidly, I would imagine we're 10 years out from such a statement, but that is many, many years out.
With the 50th anniversary coming up for Starfleet International, what do you want to say to prospective members on joining this wonderful organization?
Just yesterday, I had my ship meeting, and just getting to see those people again and interact with those people on a monthly or even couple of week basis, it means everything to me. I became the CEO. I joined as just a nobody that saw them walking out of a kind of bad Trek movie and met family. All of a sudden, I find myself 10 years later. I've been the region coordinator of the Southeast U.S. and now the VCS trying to help rebrand or build a brand for the organization. And if you're a prospective member and you're seeing this and you think that like I just really like Trek, we've got that. If you want to be a part of a social group and you're just looking for like-minded people, that's what we're here for. If you're looking for a place to kind of rise through the ranks, and the ranks are they're all fictional, but like we're doing meaningful work. My organization, or my chapter within the organization, we are a charitable ship. We raise money for 4 different charities each year, and so far we've already raised, I think it was $9,000 for 3 charities so far, and we've got 1 more to go. So we might be breaking 10,000 this year. We've never done that before as a ship, and with the advent of a lot of attendance at various conventions, our numbers are swelling. There's a lot of excitement, and to go, it's kind of what spurred on this entire conversation that we're having, Dean, is I wanted to be able to recognize and see Starfleet the minute I walk in that door. The same way as like you walk in, you see all those stormtroopers over in the corner, and they're raising money for the Wish Give a Wish
Oh, make
Foundation
a
or whatever.
yeah.
It's Make a Wish. Thank you. They're doing good work. They're visually striking. The minute you see them, you know what they're seeing. And that's what I want us to be. Like I want, you see me and you, we look kind of sharp in these uniforms. I love this uniform. I want people, when they see it, they go, "Oh man, Starfleet," and we're here for you. If you're looking for family, function, or charity, we've got it all, just like the show.
Absolutely. And what a better way to end our segment. Ryan, thank you so much for your time.
Absolutely. Thank you, Dean.
Thank you very much. Rear Admiral Dean Rogers for Starfleet News Now. Back to you in the studio.
Thank you, Dean and Ryan, for that. Coming up on Starfleet News Now, we have the Commander Starfleet joining us in just a few minutes, where he will be answering your questions live. You can submit your questions right into the chat section of whichever media you're watching us on. Also, we're going to take a look into the 3 finalists for the upcoming Communique's most recent photo contest, where they asked members of Starfleet for their star-studded selfies. The CQ has quite a few entries that have come into them, so as we go to break, here are a few of those entries. First, we have the Commander Starfleet with the late Nichelle Nichols. We also have Ethan Peck with a big smile as he poses with Anne-Marie Norris. And the members of the USS Charter Oak were especially excited when Jerry O'Connell and Rebecca Romaine came to their table at a recent convention to have their picture taken. And the crew of the USS Zavala couldn't outshine the excitable Doug Jones in his visit to Houston, Texas. And lastly, Mike Smith and Jay Ansky are in their best fur as they strike a pose with everyone's favorite Klingon general, J.G. Hertzler. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Starfleet News Now. I'm Ryan O'Connor. They come in all shapes and sizes. Conventions have been the place to go for meet and greets of celebrities and to find those one-of-a-kind and coveted finds that aren't available anywhere else. And while these conventions change little year to year, the biggest change this year isn't right in front of you. In fact, it's behind the scenes, but it has had a big impact on what can and can't be talked about by your favorite stars when they pose for pictures and sign autographs.
It's a humbling, amazing family to be invited to be a part of, and then a bigger family to be invited to be a part of, which is the fan community. So I've been playing Star Trek since I was 6. So this is it's an unbelievable. It's a treat and an honor and a responsibility.
Up until recently, conversations like this were a staple at conventions all across the country with actors from all different franchises. And while there is a strike going on in Hollywood, you can still get to have a fun time with those men and women you've been watching on the screen. Fun, just like when Brent Spiner wanted to share his take on the latest season of Picard during our interview with Todd Stashwick, where he was asked about his character's retelling of the famous battle at Wolf 359, an interview taken July 9th, just days before the entertainment industry went on the picket line.
It was all on the page. They wrote such a great, harrowing retelling of something and kind of trying to embody that complex trauma.
Come on in.
The only thing I can even compare it to,
He hasn't seen it.
if I can say this from the heart, is the scene in Jaws where Robert Shaw.
Now he's just puppeting what other people have said about it.
Have other people said that?
Yes.
Really?
But you know, androids can't lie.
You don't lose a leg in that scene, do you?
I never had one to begin with.
No.
I don't have a leg to stand on.
Exactly.
And while our favorite actors that are members of the Screen Actors Guild, American Federation of Television and Radio Artists, more commonly known as SAG-AFTRA, aren't allowed to talk about their roles they've played in the past or promote any upcoming projects, they are still welcome to come to conventions and meet their adoring fans. A point that many conventions are making on their websites, like Altered Reality's Rhode Island Comic-Con, which is coming up in November. A statement on their site reads in part, "The SAG-AFTRA strike will not affect our favorite celebrity guests from appearing at our event." According to the union, members can participate in a convention in ways that are wholly independent of characters from struck work or sponsorship by struck companies. We stand with all our friends and family in both the SAG-AFTRA and WGA as they fight for performers' rights.
I've known about Terrificon for many, many years. We never got out here, period. So finally decided to do it this year because Frakes was here, and Terry Farrell is here, and Jeffrey Combs is here, and Rebecca Romaine is here. So we were like, this is the year to do it. So it kind of lived up to my expectations, if not more so. I didn't expect a show like Terrificon to be necessarily a 2-day show, but I mean, here we are, day 2 now, and we're ready for more.
And while big-name stars help bring in big crowds, Kaplowitz and his partner Andrea Levine, who came to Connecticut's Terrificon in August from New York, say conventions continue to attract people with more than just star power.
Yeah, we just want to have a good time. You know, one of the things that we really liked is that we're meeting vendors that we don't normally see in New York, because as great as some of the vendors are, we see a lot of the same ones over and over again. And here we've met some great people. You know, I mean, not just a place where we can get the toys and everything, just different things. Like there's someone who's selling D&D tea, you know, and candle stuff, and the artists. It's just fantastic.
Despite the strike, there is one thing that celebrities can say, just how much they appreciate the continued support from their fans.
Thank you for making me feel so special. Yeah. You guys, I love you.
The Rhode Island Comic-Con will be this November 3rd through the 5th in Providence, Rhode Island. They are expecting 8 actors from Star Trek, including Gates McFadden, Brent Spiner, LeVar Burton, and Denise Crosby, to be in attendance, just to name a few. With more on different conventions coming to a city near you, here's Ailey Montgomery.
Thank you, Ryan. There are many conventions across the globe taking place during October and November. I'll highlight just a few. The Dallas Fan Festival will be held October 20th through the 22nd at the Irving Convention Center. Michelle Hurd from Star Trek Picard is one of the headline guests. Weekend passes start at $60. The Auckland Armageddon in Spring, New Zealand is coming October 20th, 23rd. The Star Trek guests are Robert Picardo, Kate Mulgrew, Todd Stashwick, Jess Bush, and Melissa Navia. The extensive list of guests also includes Omid Abtahi, Katie O'Brien, and Brendan Wayne from The Mandalorian. As Ryan, you just mentioned, the Rhode Island Comic-Con has a long list of guests for the weekend of November 3rd through 5th in Providence, Rhode Island. In addition to the guests you mentioned, John Delancey, Anson Mount, and Sophia Boutella will also be among the 8 familiar faces. But the fun doesn't stop with them. Other guests, many with ties to Star Trek, include Famke Janssen, Nolan North, Ron Perlman, Lou Ferrigno, John Glover, and Barry Gordon. If you attend, be sure to look out for Starfleet Recruiting Table, which will be staffed by crews from the USS Roger Williams and the USS Charter Oak and the USS Nathan Hale, all of Region 15. The London Comic Con Winter Show will take place November 11th and 12th at the Olympia Conference Centre in London. Marina Sirtis and Tony Todd are among the guests. The sixth Doctor Who, Colin Baker, is another of the expected guests. The Moscone Center West is the site for the Fan Expo San Francisco in California on November 24th through the 26th. The large array of guests includes Michael Dorn, Jonathan Frakes, William Shatner, Peter Weller, and Michelle Hurd. The USS Golden Gate will be there representing Starfleet. The complete list of cons around the globe for this quarter will be published in the communique that will drop into your email inbox on October 1st. With the USS Albert in Region 20, I'm Rear Admiral Ailey Montgomery, Starfleet News Now.
Still ahead on Starfleet News Now, Fleet Admiral David Nottage III is waiting in our virtual green room with answers to your pressing questions. A conversation with the Commander Starfleet is coming up on Starfleet News Now.
Several departments in Starfleet are looking for volunteers to further their mission. Here are a few listed on the volunteer resource page of the Members Hub online. The Information Service Department is looking for a front-end developer. A highly skilled and experienced front-end web developer is needed to work on the new Starfleet database. A special envoy of first contact is sought by the Starfleet Diplomatic Corps. The special envoy will work towards identifying potential organizations to establish diplomatic relationships within the sci-fi community. He or she will make first contact and try to open up dialogue with said organization. The Starfleet Office of Membership is in need of a director of recruitment. This director will be responsible for developing new and innovative ways to positively promote Starfleet in various mediums, including social media, conventions, and word of mouth. The director will also develop and maintain recruitment materials and templates for use by all members and chapters. The Office of Commander of Starfleet is seeking a Master Chief Petty Officer to serve as an advisor and sounding board for all things pertaining to the enlisted corps. The successful candidate's duties will be to foster growth of the enlisted corps, represent the rank and file members to the CS in deliberations, and coordinate and mentor region and chapter level enlisted programs. These and other vacant positions are listed on the volunteer resource page online, along with the applications to apply for any of the listed positions. Your talents are needed to make Starfleet even greater. Please see the entire list at sfi.org/human resources.
Our friends over at Starfleet Communicate are just days away from publishing their latest issue, and in there is a fun selfie contest that had one requirement. It had to have a star from Star Trek in it. And in no particular order, here are the top 3 submissions. First, we have Lauren White in her original series dress with Nichelle Nichols. It must have felt like Miss Nichols was looking at her own self from the 60s. Amazing photo there. Next, we have Anna Hodling literally posing with Jonathan Frakes in an amazing show of Rikshasana or tree pose. Very impressive. The only yoga pose I've mastered is the Shashavana, where you lay flat and still. I don't even know if I'm saying it correctly, but that's okay. They're doing an amazing job with it. Lastly, we have W.M. Walker with everyone's favorite founder, the late and great Rene Auberjonois. Great picture of Odo's Pale with Odo himself. To find out which of these 3 is the winner of the selfie contest, be on the lookout for the next Starfleet communique. With more of what to expect in the upcoming CQ publication, let's check in with Justin Hunt for a sneak peek. Justin.
The CQ is going to be kind of full this quarter. We have a couple different celebrity interviews. We have an interview with our CS after his tour of Region 20. And we actually had, for the first time, fan art that was actually submitted to go in. That was something that I tried to put in before I even got the editor position. But it's all up and going now, and so we have our first submissions of that, and it's actually really good artwork too. So I think everybody's going to enjoy that.
Yeah, there are a lot of great submissions this go around. We just showed some photos of the top 3 for your photo contest. We're looking forward to seeing who the winner is of that. What type of articles are we also looking forward to having in this upcoming CQ?
Well, we have a few different convention articles that were submitted because obviously the summer was really interesting in terms of that. We also have a few things that are making reference to the VIC, which was a lot of fun. I spent some time on Gather Town. It was a good time. And yeah, I think that's about what we're expecting to see in this issue. Just, some really interesting stuff from the people that have been out there being busy.
And for our newcomers with Starfleet International, how do they get their own copy of the communique?
Well, it's important to make sure that you have an up-to-date email address that you actually check for the one that you join with, because we're sending it out via MailChimp, which has been a great way to do it. It's been making sure that people aren't missing it. But you can also go on to the Starfleet International website and download it from there through the database. That's also a great way to look at back issues if you're just joining and you're wanting to get an idea of what all has been going on in the past year or so. So, yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful. Justin, you are the CQ editor. Justin Hunt, thank you very much for joining us today on Starfleet News Now.
All right, thank you.
All right, we are talking with Matthew Kaplowitz and Andrea Levine of Nerd News Today and Trek Untold. Welcome to Starfleet News Now, Matthew and Andrea. How are you guys?
Good. Yeah, I think we're pretty good. Yeah,
we're doing good. Thank you so much for having us here today.
Good, good, good. So yeah, you do 2 separate podcasts that is very much nerd related. We love watching them, and on top of being nerd related, very Star Trek related as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we are very nerdy people, if you can't tell.
Yeah, just a
tiny bit. Yeah. Yeah. I started Nerd News Today in 2011, and then Andrea joined up around 2016. I think it's 2015 maybe. I think you started doing more with me.
Yeah, I think so, around there. Yeah.
Let's talk about Trek Untold for just a moment here, because you get the opportunity of actually talking with a lot of big name people in Trek. How did you go about first landing that role?
Weird kismet, I guess. It was an idea that I'd had for a while. I think it kind of first officially began when we went to Ghostbusters Fan Fest.
Yes.
In 2019, and you met Bob Gunton.
Yes.
And there was like a lot of, I called them like C-level celebrities. I didn't really know a better way to talk about them at that point, honestly. So I was kind of like, there's a lot of like folks who've done stuff, and there's a lot of like folks who are character actors and things like that. And I was just thinking, everybody knows all the big names, so it'd be kind of cool to actually like dig in and learn more about these people, what they do, how they do their things. And it seemed like, especially in Star Trek, there wasn't really a lot of that at the time. Like there were folks who were doing their podcasts. Those were generally going to be review shows where they talk about whatever the latest Trek is. And at that time, there wasn't really that much, but they would go back or look at old episodes, whatever. And interviews were like sporadic with a lot of them. So I kind of wanted to make a show that was really focused on getting to know the people behind Star Trek, whether that was going to be somebody who was a main cast member, or somebody who was a character actor who shows up once or twice, or maybe even a few more times throughout the series, whether that meant like behind the scenes people, like directors, writers, camera operators, VFX people, and then just like kind of going around all the ancillary parts of Star Trek as well, because then there's like comic book artists and book writers and musicians and composers and sound effects people, and a whole breadth of different professions that are in the Star Trek world. And I kind of wanted to get to know who these people are, the different life experiences that got them to where they are today, and how that happens to tie into Star Trek.
How did you get into Star Trek originally? What was the foundation of your love for Roddenberry's vision?
So for me, I was a TNG person growing up. That was my first Trek. That was baby's first Trek. And I actually got out of sci-fi for quite some time. Like around the time, probably like middle school or high school, I really just wasn't as interested in Star Trek. I got a little bit more into Star Wars. Sorry. But then eventually I was really very much a lapsed fan for years. Like I would watch it if it was on TV, but I definitely didn't consider myself a Trekkie. It wasn't until I went to a Comic-Con, actually, which was probably, I forget the year now, I think it was like 2014 or 2015. And I saw like a bargain bin full of Star Trek toys. And for me, toys had always been like one, something I collect to this day, and all sorts of things. And I saw the Star Trek toys and they were dirt cheap. So I was like, I'm just going to buy a ton of the ones I never had as a kid. And that's honestly what kind of reinvigorated me as an adult, was going back to collecting. And then I'm like, oh, you know what? I never actually finished watching that series, or I never even watched that series at all. I should probably get caught up. And so that's kind of what happened for me. Is it started with the toys, and it just kept snowballing from there.
Andrea, tell me about it. When he started bringing these toys home, what was going through your head seeing this grown man bringing home childhood treats like different Playmates toys and Mego toys, and that's just the Star Trek line. I know you also collect other lines as well. So what was going through your head when Matthew started bringing home all these amazing treats?
Honestly, it was more of, I really need to make sure I'm caught up on Trek to figure out who everyone is, because I love the toys too. I didn't grow up with Trek. I was in a Star Wars family. I saw all the movies when I went to college, so that's like figure two, somewhere around the late 90s, early 2000s. I saw all the movies. I knew what they were pop culture wise, but I never watched any of the shows. So I think I owned a couple of Art Asylum figures though, because I had an Art Asylum Data and Picard, and I thought that it was just because they were beautiful to look at. But then as we got close to 2016, my best friend pretty much said, you need to watch it. We're going to Star Trek Missions New York. If you don't, I will kill you. There were a lot of threats of violence on my part, so I started binging. So I was hooked, and he's bringing in all these toys, and like, oh, okay, this is all the stuff I didn't know they had, and I probably would have been into it if I had grown up with Trek. So I was totally for it.
So fast forward, or in this case, rewind to 2016, and you start doing your Nerd News today. One of the things that I love watching on Nerd News is both of your reactions to looking at these figures. Oftentimes you get figures that are either in the box, or I know you like to showcase your figures out of the box. I know growing up, my love was with the Playmates figures, because just like you, I'm of the next generation era, and like I brought a few little gadgets to the table here today. This one was modified by me. I literally took the top off and spray painted that, but you can still get the little light in there. But it's amazing what Trek fans, emitter, thank you. It's amazing what Trek fans have done with the Star Trek toys. You go from your little Playmates tricorder that makes the noises and is great, and it's great for cosplay, but as Trek fans, we've always wanted more. We've wanted to go the next level. So you take that same Playmates tricorder, and you have someone who made it so that it actually has a reed switch and turns on and off as you open it. You get the honor of talking with these people who have taken Playmates figures and taken it to the next level. Case in point, Triple Fiction Productions. Tell me about your relationship with these different makers who take Star Trek love to that next level.
Yeah, there's a lot of folks who, when there was that time span where there weren't really as many Star Trek toys coming out, or really nothing at all, other than like kind of high-end niche stuff, pretty much Trek fans went to business for themselves. And that's when people like Triple Fiction Productions came around. For the longest time, he was actually doing prop replicas, and then he started doing the toy thing as a side part. And now at this point with the business, TFP has basically really kind of walked away from the replicas, and for the most part is just purely focused on toys, and really specifically the Playmates toys, because that line was just so enormous. So it's kind of cool, like seeing the creativity of all these folks and really giving us the stuff we didn't have as kids.
Yeah, and I mean, honestly, Matt's been the one to reach out to them and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. We would love to showcase you. And then it just kind of happens because they want their stuff showcased. We want to show everyone, this is how it works with the toys. We want to show how it is to play with them and the kind of fun you can have with it. And, then we go from there, and then he starts talking to more people in different ways. And it spirals out of there.
And it's been interesting too, seeing the growth of 3D printing, because back when we first started like taking a look at TFP stuff, we noticed, and we talked about it on camera, because we are pretty darn unbiased. We were talking about how, yes, we got this for free to review, but look at all these lines and all these printing things, like all these little things that we're seeing. And then, a few years later, that's all gone. The technology has become so much better at printing smoother, faster, more efficiently. And then likewise too, a lot of people are doing this now. There's more knowledge to be shared, so people know how to paint them better. If they're making things like tricorders and phasers with electronics, they understand how to wire them more efficiently and more cost effectively. So it's really like really impressive just how far this whole little like sub toy industry of unlicensed Trek things has come.
It's amazing what he does, and it's amazing what you guys do with your podcast, being able to share that with your viewers. What goes into planning any one of your podcasts?
Usually, number one, it's trying to track down guests. And I've described myself to other people, to make a Star Wars reference, as I'm kind of like the Mandalorian in the Star Trek world, because if I'm trying to hunt somebody down, I will track them down, I will find them, and they will be interviewed. But, to be completely honest, step one just begins with trying to track these people down and trying to find people, period. So there can be, weeks where I'm sending out emails, doing cold calls, or in many cases, actually, there's been a lot where I'm really kind of bounty hunting people. Like, I'm trying to collect information because maybe this person used to have this rep but no longer has this rep, or maybe this person used to be on this social media account, or they're represented by this person, or they went to this Comic-Con, or they work with this charity. So it's a lot of times of me like making one of those big murder boards where I'm trying to connect all the different dots together and figure out like, okay, how do I find the person? And even then, that's still not a guarantee that if I find them, they will say yes. I have waited upwards of about 2 years to interview with some people. And I stay in contact and we keep making it work. And, I always get my person.
He's persistent. Very, very persistent.
And then once I do get the guest, then it's usually at minimum a full day of research, if not 2 to 3, depending on who they are, what they've done. Because I feel like with Trek Untold, the more I know, the more they'll tell. And I think that's what a lot of my guests have really liked, is that I do my homework and I come in there knowing what I want to talk about. Still very flexible to let them tell me how the flow of the conversation is going to go and where we're going to go with it. But for the most part, it's always about me doing my research and getting it done. And that's really been like the key to having folks want to keep talking to me and really open themselves up.
Yeah, and it clearly shows that you've done your homework, that you've done your research. The interviews are amazing. Your podcasts are amazing. And you've been noticed by other fan organizations. Case in point, I know you're affiliated now with Trek Long Island, the local Star Trek convention. They're going into their second year, and they had you involved in the first year. They're bringing you back and having you more involved in the second year. Can you talk to that a little bit?
So yeah, we were at Trek Long Island last year.
We were basically, we weren't quite vending, but we were exhibiting, I guess.
We were part of Podcast Alley, they called us. Yeah. So they kind of had all the podcasters, this one nice little row. Mm-hmm. And so it was a good show. But
it was great for us.
We had a good time. And I remember thinking as we were there, it's like, there's a lot of things that I can see, that I feel like we could do differently next year or whatever. So I reached out to the folks who work at Trek Long Island, and I was telling them hey, you guys did this great stuff, but there's a few things that I know the other podcasters had some troubles with or whatever. And I'd love to help get on board and be a liaison or figure things out, whatever. So I guess at this point, my official title is the Grand Nagus of podcasts.
Yeah, and I really hope if you are called the Grand Nagus that you have the Golden Scepter. We're saying.
We're trying. The only way we can get that is with 3D printing, and we don't have a 3D printer. So we're trying to figure this out. We're trying to make it work.
Well, reach out to Triple Fiction Productions. I think we can make it work for you.
I think that's what we have to do, yeah.
We're gonna have to, yeah.
Now, let me ask you this. For any of your podcasts, what would be the dream for a podcast? Meaning, who would be your dream interview? What would you like to review? What would be your dream item to review on Nerd News Today? Or your whoever you would love to interview, that coveted interview for Trek Untold?
I'd love to have Patrick Stewart, and he's got a book coming out in October. And unfortunately, with the strike happening right now, it's a little hard to make things happen like that. But at some point, I'd love to get Sir Patrick Stewart, not only to talk Trek, because again, he's talked Trek so much. He's very convention friendly, but I really want to talk to him about some of his other work, especially a lot of his theatrical work, things that he probably doesn't talk about as much, especially with Star Trek. And that's why, again, Trek Untold does what it does. If the show spends 25% of the show talking Star Trek, that's kind of a lot. Usually it's very rare, because a lot of times I really want to get to know who the people are behind their professions, and then really see the other experience that they had professionally. So, with somebody like Sir Patrick Stewart, man, we could just spend an hour just talking theater, and I'm sure we could go even longer. Mm-hmm. So,
well, no, hold on. I just realized who the real actual Holy Grail person is. People have asked us if we could do it. We know that the chances are slim to none, but the real Holy Grail person for Trek Untold, Avery Brooks.
Yeah, we've had actually a lot of requests for Avery Brooks, and
Avery would be the one.
He's the one that I don't think he's doing anything anymore. I think he's just completely walked away from it. But
he's teaching.
Yeah,
I'm retired from teaching now.
If I could find the right angle, I feel like I could lure him back in somehow. If I just dangle the right jazz song in front of him.
Exactly. It's just we're just bringing the music. Like you can talk music, but just somewhere in between all your singing, just talk a little Trek. You know,
we'll talk Trek. We'll share jambalaya recipes. Everybody will have a good time. Yeah.
A jambalaya recipe sounds really good right about now. And luckily for you, with Patrick Stewart coming to your neck of the woods for his for premiering his book, maybe that might be the opportunity to get you in to talk with him about more than just Star Trek. And that would be a great conversation to be had for anyone. I want to thank both of you for joining us today, Matthew and Andrea from Nerd News Today and Trek Untold. Two great super fans of Star Trek joining us here on Starfleet News Now. Thank you, guys. I hope you both live long and prosper. Thank you very much. And by the way, I can hear the printer's already running Baby's First Trek. Make sure you credit Andrea and Michael for Matthew for that. So great story there. Now, gaming is becoming the new way for members of different vessels in the fleet to meet up and interact, creating a platform for Starfleet to help build upon their fan association with a 21st century twist. And taking us into the future of Starfleet is the new auxiliary fleet, now about 3 months old. Ensign Amanda Copeland of the USS Ohana speaks with Matt Davies from Starfleet Tactical.
Hello, everybody. My name is Amanda Copeland. I am the XO of the USS Ohana. I have with us Colonel Matt Davies, and we're going to go ahead and ask him some questions. Tell us, Matt, what does tactical mean in Star Trek and Starfleet?
So in Starfleet, that's the easy part because we are the gaming division of all of Starfleet International. Gaming is something that we saw as a real way to bring members across the world together, both within chapters, between chapters, regions, all the way up. And I think that was something that was missing, a real opportunity. I also see it as a way to recruit from a new group of people. We've been very traditional in how we recruit, and it's usually science fiction events or fan events. But gaming conventions are another great place for us to recruit as an organization as a whole. Within the Star Trek universe, there's so many things that tactical means. So tactical goes all the way from individual ground level tactics and combat all the way up to starship tactics to negotiation. We are so new as a division, we haven't really defined our role-playing idea yet. So right now we're completely focused on the reality of the gaming aspect of it and trying to provide so many different opportunities for gaming across the organization, whether that's video games, tabletop, mobile, anywhere that we can connect people through gaming. That's where we're focused right now. We're probably only 3 months old, so we've got a lot of work to do.
That's fair. It sounds amazing. What does it mean to be an auxiliary of Starfleet?
So again, we're really, really new. I know there haven't been many auxiliaries. I think auxiliaries as a whole provide a new way of people interacting with the organization. Traditionally, you were a member of a chapter, and that was the extent of your interaction with the fan club as a whole. And if your chapter didn't reach out and cross the boundaries beyond itself, you got very little exposure to Starfleet. And I think auxiliaries are giving individual members the opportunity to decide new ways of interacting with Starfleet in areas that interest them the most. And some of them are practical, like our Corps of Engineers, which is design, art, video. Some of it is gaming, like us, which is just pure fun. And then there's some pure role play things like the Marines and SFSO. So it kind of gives a real buffet of ways of individual members of becoming a bigger part of Starfleet as a whole.
I love that. Inclusivity. I love it. What plans are being made to involve members who join Tactical?
So right from the start, we've not required anybody to join Tactical to be a part of Tactical. So we we have staff, and that's a way of getting involved at the highest level. We have open positions, and you can go through an application and join Tactical. But we encourage anybody to come to Tactical and do their thing. So we've helped individual people set up full games. We have one play-by-post game that's just run by a member who joined us early on, who just likes gaming, and he's on his 6th, I think, different play-by-post game. We have somebody else setting up a full tabletop role-playing game that's going to be run in Tactical, but where it's not us. They're doing it. They're just running it. And we actually formed a division when we created ourselves that is designed to support other people doing gaming. And so whether that is teaching somebody how to play a new game, whether that's helping somebody learn how to run a large-scale event, whether that is providing resources like a virtual tabletop account that they can run a game on. That's what our whole support division is designed to do. It's to create opportunities for everybody else in the fleet. And for us, we're just the helping hand. It's not even one of our things. We're just helping everyone else do their thing.
That's so cool. Kind of leads into my next question about the objectives of the Tactical Auxiliary. Is that the only objective, or are there others?
So we were formed with some core objectives. The first overall core objective was to use gaming as a way to grow activity within Starfleet International. So kind of at the beginning, I talked about, we saw this untapped way of getting everybody more involved. And that was one of our first focuses, is how can we get people interacting with each other, playing with each other, having fun, seeing new parts of the world just by interacting with these people. Our second core objective is using gaming as a way to grow Starfleet International as a whole. So that speaks to the recruitment part that we were talking about looking for new ways to use gaming to bring new members into Starfleet International. And those are two of our really big focuses.
Matt, how can the Tactical Auxiliary be contacted if someone's interested in joining?
Sure. So we have two main areas. We have a Discord group and a Facebook group. You can find both those links at the Tactical website, which is tactical.sfi.org.
So my last question to you is, Tactical is one of the new auxiliaries in Starfleet. What does the group need to accomplish for Tactical to become a permanent auxiliary?
So our biggest thing now is creating that role-playing element so that people can be a part of the organization in both ways, and creating a standard members handbook and a guideline to how to be a part of Tactical. Those are our two biggest next steps.
Perfect. And do you guys have your own website, or is it just through Facebook and Discord?
We have our website, which is tactical.sfi.org.
All right, Matt, well, thank you so much for answering these questions. It's been great talking with you, and we'll see you next time.
It's been a real pleasure to be here, and I look forward to seeing you all in Tactical.
All right, welcome back to Starfleet News Now. I'm Ryan O'Connor. We are now being joined by the Commander Starfleet, Fleet Admiral David Nottage. Fleet Admiral Nottage, thank you very much for coming on our show.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yeah, perfect. It looked like we had a little bit of a blip there, but I'm glad to see we have you in person. Commander, thank you very much for joining us. You took office in January of this year after running a campaign about a united fleet. Now nearly 10 months in, how do you feel your tenure in the top spot has been going? And do you feel that the fleet is becoming that one united fleet you're looking for?
So, Ryan and I have been working really hard to produce a method of transparency to the membership. I think that we have greatly achieved that. One of the things that folks have brought up to me is, there seems to be a lot of drama that, that's been going on in the last 10 months. And the message out there to the membership is that this drama has always been out there. It just hasn't been always shared. And Ryan and I are actually sharing everything that's going on. So it's sort of like as technology with hurricanes gets better and better, you see more hurricanes. And so that's sort of what's happening. We've had a few glitches here and there, a few time delays, but everything is progressing forward. We are meeting our goals. The core values, core tenets of One Fleet are being produced and are moving forward. As Ryan would say, onward and upward. And it's really been exciting.
Wonderful. Now, membership dues has been a conversation point of late. There is talk about increasing the price of membership from the current $5 a year. What's behind this need?
So one of the AB has had a discussion. I provided a budget that actually was approved 2 months before it was geared to start. And out of that budget, one of the questions that came, because I supplied to them an expense budget, and they wanted to see the income. And so we produced an income document for them. And it was very glaring that the budget exceeds the income that we currently have. Now, some of that is from COVID, leftovers from people joining, not having conventions, not having the methodologies to do excellent recruiting. But the other part of it is that, how do I explain this, is that when we decreased the dues, when the communique went away many years ago, and I had brought this up when I was on the AB then, we lowered the dues too much. At the time, it may have worked out, but there was not a long range vision that was looked at. So to be blunt about it, currently our expenses in the previous administration were running at about $53,000 per year. The income was ranging between 22 and 24 during the previous administration. In this current, we produced a budget of 51,000 on the expenses, and we are projecting a income of about 23,000. Now, that doesn't mean that we're actually going to spend all that, but we are spending for sure. We are bolstering with the new database. We have increased and have made changes to our web interfaces and how our emails work, trying to make them a lot more secure as the best that we can, and trying to bring everything together as far as having more storage to be able to provide more to the membership. Out of that, the membership cost committee, which is made up of 3 AB members, took the information that they requested, I provided, and came up with a report. Their report that was put together by Region 2, Region 20, and Region 8 basically said that a dues increase is something that's going to happen. And they came to the same conclusion that I did, is that we need to make sure that we're going to be solvent going forward. Sure, this administration, the next administration, we'll have enough money, but going forward and beyond that, there's no guarantee that we're not going to be spending beyond our means, let's say. And the way to do that is to
when and
increase
how
dues.
much? Do we have any idea of when and how much?
So we're looking at currently, or what the report came back at was an increase for the primary membership of $10 with increases throughout a family membership, keeping the family membership in its tiered format. Depending on if and when the AB approves it, I would like to see it enacted in January. It will be up for a vote I believe it's the November AB meeting. If passed, that will take us to right about break even. On top of that, for those that can't, that won't be able to afford it, the One Fleet membership grant is becoming available. I donated all of my old PIPs. Other people are making donations. Then we're selling through the quartermaster, and those funds are going to help bolster for a one-time membership grant that the fleet will still make money and still get the money that they need, and a member will have an extra year. Now, one of the little tidbits though is renew early, renew often. So if you want to get in there and renew for the next couple of years, by all means, go ahead and do that. We encourage you to do that, and you won't have to worry about it for a little while. And that, of course, would be at the current rate. We hope that it goes through. There will be, you can contact your regional coordinator. They have all of the information that is needed, including what added perks and things that we are working on. Some of the things that you're going to see coming up soon are going to be our website that's going to be translated into foreign languages. We have a new director of accessibility coming on board very soon. So hopefully we'll be able to bolster some of that. With our new quartermaster, you'll be able to actually order a communique hard copy mailed to you. But like what was said earlier, you certainly can download it, take it to your nearest print shop, or use your own print cartridges at home and print it for yourself. We will be looking at our perks. We have a perk officer that's coming up. So we are going to be offering some new things to the membership. It's just going to take a little bit of time.
All right, Fleet Admiral Nottage, we have about 2 minutes remaining in this. I did want to quickly touch upon the data breach. Your office put out a notice of a data breach affecting the organization. Can you tell me what happened?
Yeah, so real quick, first off, we have reclassified that. Originally, the gut reaction is to call it a data breach right off the bat. This was more of a security breach. Other than that, it's currently an investigation being coordinated by the DPO and the Office of the IG. And, no PII was taken. Things that, that I can tell you beyond that is that, we are looking into it. Everything has been fixed and solved. There's no issues, just like the first one, which was a data breach. We are going through and making sure that we very, very quickly, and thanks to the InfoServe team, you guys were absolutely amazing in getting all safe and secure once again. It's an ongoing investigation, so the RCs will know more about that in the future.
Fleet Admiral David Nottage, thank you very much for joining us today and bringing us all this information. We greatly appreciate it. For everyone here behind the scenes and on camera today, thank you for joining us today on Starfleet News Now. In this inaugural episode, we plan on being back in December with your next report, so stay tuned for that. And Fleet Admiral Nottage, we look forward to seeing you soon at that one as well. In the meantime, for our viewers out there, make sure you're friending us on Facebook, X, and Discord, and like and subscribe to Starfleet International's YouTube page so you're in the know of all things Starfleet, the International Star Trek Fan Association. Reporting from aboard the USS Charter Oak, NCC 63545 in Connecticut, in Region 15, I'm Ryan O'Connor, signing off here, wishing you peace and long life.